Welcome, everyone. This is the Monday edition, January 24th, 2022 of the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by the Predictive Playbook and presented by SportsMemo TV. I am your host, John Ryan, and I have my co-host and NBA partner and good friend and professional sports betting, Ronald Cabang, with me, and we're going to go over a trio, which is the triple part of this show. Obviously, the double is us, Ronald and myself, and we're going to get started right now with the first game, looking at the Cavs versus the Knicks. This is Knicks have been playing quite a few games at home recently, but this one is on the road, and they are at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Tip is set for 7 o'clock against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who find themselves 5th place in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are 11th in the Eastern Conference with a 23-24 record. Cleveland's been playing great. 28-19 on the season, 29-16 with 2 pushes against the number. And they are 13-9 at home and 17-4 straight up as a favorite. And that is exactly what Cleveland is. They are favored by 6, Ronald, with a total of 202 points, which is one of the lowest totals of the season in the NBA Association. So where do you see the betting opportunity in this matchup?
Yeah, like you mentioned, the Cavs are a strong team this season. They're one of the top teams in the East. And even though, this total is super low, I'm looking at the under here. The Knicks, like you mentioned, they're playing the second game in back-to-back nights, going from home to road. And they're going to be their first game of a tough 3-game road trip coming up. They got the Cavs today, then the Heat, and then the Bucks up next. But they're really not in position to look ahead at this point. But I know Rose is out, Kemba and Robinson are game-time decisions. Noel did come back last game, and he played well, so I think that's going to help a bit if Robinson ends up not playing. A couple of trends to look at here. Knicks are 7-2 to the under when the total is under 208, and some of those totals did get down to like 202, 202.5, so this is not like unfamiliar territory for them. They're also 4-1 to the under on the road with no rest, and 4-1 to the under on the road against teams with a winning record, which the Cavs are. The Cavs, they're coming into this one a little bit more rested, but they will be without Markkanen, and Rondo is a game-time decision. Ultimately, I think this is a look-ahead spot for them. They have become one of the top teams in the East, and I think they could possibly be saving themselves for their upcoming matchup against the Bucks. Some trends to think about here are the Cavs are 4-0-1 to the under at home against teams with no rest, and 7-3 to the under at home against teams with a losing record. And then another one is 6-0 to the under when the total is 206 or less. So, like I mentioned, these low totals are not unfamiliar for both of these teams. In the last 10 games, there's only a 1.4 point difference in net rating between the two teams here. And that's the only reason why I lean the Knicks here is the look-ahead spot and the fact that ultimately they're not playing that much worse than the Cavs are, especially when it comes to net rating. I know the Cavs are more rested, but the look-ahead spot here is strong in my opinion. I really do like the under here, though. I think it's possible neither team hits 100 points, so I'll be taking the under in this one.
And I'm going to join you on that, Ronald, because I have 2 angles to add. The Knicks are 21-10 under, facing an opponent that's pretty good shooting team in road games. They make 46% or more of their shots in games played over the last 2 seasons. They've gone 21-10 to the under. Cleveland is 22-10 to the under when playing against a team with just a modestly losing record like the Knicks have, win percentage between 40 and 49% in games played over the last 3 seasons. So 2 pretty good trends there that add up to 43-20. And one on each of the teams involved. So I do like the under here. I think you're absolutely right. I think first team to 95 is probably going to win this game straight up.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our second game. This is the Chicago Bulls, who have somewhat fallen on some tough times. They're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in this matchup, we have just pulling up my notes here real quick. So Chicago's 28-17, and they've lost more than they've won. That is certainly the case right now. They are Losers of 6 of the last 7. They're 3-4 against the number during that span. The over/under has gone 2-4 and 1 push. But Oklahoma City's, just a losing machine, straight up at least. They've lost 5 straight, 10 of their last 11. But they are 2-2 with 1 push against the number and a surprising 7-3 against the spread over the last 10. I like the Bulls in this game, though. I think they are going to start righting the ship. I think the market's overreacted. This is also a new game on the schedule. The previous game that was scheduled was canceled due to COVID-19 health and safety protocol issues. And supporting the Bulls, Ronald, is the Bulls are 34-15 against the number one facing an opponent with a losing record spanning the games played over the last 2 seasons. And a little betting system here that's gone 21-5 against the number for 81% winning bets spanning the last 5 seasons. Bet on road favorites coming off 2 or more under result games. Has a scoring differential between -3 and +3 points per game and facing a struggling offensive team and defensive team, just a struggling team, period, that is getting outscored by 7 or more points per game. Just those simple parameters has added up to a 21-5 ATS record for 81% winning bets. So I am taking Chicago Bulls in this matchup, Ronald. You see anything in this matchup?
Yeah, I was looking at the under here. It's a lean for me, not an official play or anything like that. But the Bulls, they struggle on games with no rest. They're especially defensively. They allow 112 points per game in 9 games this season when they're playing with no rest. But like you mentioned, the Thunder, they are terrible offensively, and they're 9-1 to the under when they're more rested than their opponents this season. I know they lost 10 of their last 11, like you mentioned, but they've covered 8 of those, and that's the reason why I kind of stayed away from the spread myself. But I just think that, offensively, both teams might struggle here. I think Levine's status is pretty important today. He's a game time decision. If he plays, obviously the Bulls will welcome that addition because they're missing a lot of guys here. And that's probably the reason why they've been struggling is a lot of the injuries that they've been kind of going through. But yeah, I would lean the under here. If Levine doesn't play, they're going to struggle offensively again, but they're going to play some solid defense, and the Thunder can't score. Even though they've been covering so much this season, they've been a covering machine while losing all of their games. They're just not able to put up points. So to me, the lean would be the under in this one.
All right, that's good stuff, Ronald. Let's move on to our third and final game of the Triple-Double Show. This is the Indiana Pacers, who are 13 games under 500, 13th in the Eastern Conference at 17-30 record. They're playing the 11th best team in the Western Conference. That would be the New Orleans Pelicans at the Smoothie King Center at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pelicans are 17-28, 21-24 ATS. Over-under is 18-26 with 1 push for the Pelicans. This line opened at -3 and still has the Pelicans installed as a 3-point home favorite. Indiana's been playing pretty not real well, but they've been playing better. They're coming off this is their 5th game of a 5-game road trip. They beat the Lakers and the Warriors, but the Warriors you have to put an asterisk because there was sudden massive scratches right before the tip. So it's not like they beat the real Warriors team. They beat, basically the bench. But nevertheless, it is a win. The total here is 215 points. I'm kind of thinking the under in this matchup, Ronald. Where are you going with this one?
I'm looking at the Pelicans here. The Pacers are playing their 5th straight game on the road, and they're still going to be shorthanded. McConnell, Brogdon, Turner, and Sabonis are out. LeVert is a game time decision. And like you mentioned, they've been a surprise lately. They beat the Lakers outright. They beat the Warriors outright, and they covered against the spread in the last game. But I think that the Pelicans at this point, they can't afford to look over a team like this. So I think that's the reason why the Pelicans will probably try a lot harder than the Warriors did, or the Lakers or the Suns, to be honest. But some trends here. The Pacers are 2-5 against the spread, and 5-1-1 to the under on the road against teams with a losing record. So that kind of goes with your under there against 0-5 against the spread when their opponent has 2 days of rest or more, and then 4-1 to the under on the road when they're less rested than their opponent. So, against the spread, we're fading the Pacers, and like you mentioned, the under is a solid play here. On the Pelicans side, this is going to be their first half of back-to-back games, but they're going to be without Ingram and Zion, of course, and Graham's going to be a game-time decision. I think he's going to be important, but whether or not he plays, I just think that the Pacers are due for like a letdown spot here. The Pelicans, they're well rested too. They haven't played since Thursday. They're 7-4 against the spread and 7-4 to the under when they're more rested than their opponent. 5-1 against the spread and 5-1 to the under as home favorites, and they're short favorites today. I think a lot of the signs are leaning to the Pelicans and the under, like you mentioned. I do trust, for some reason, the spread more than the under, just because of the pace that the Pacers have been playing with these bench players. I just think that the Pelicans, even without Ingram, can take this one on the short line.
I like it quite a bit. Ronald, Indiana is also 8-0 to the under in road games after having won 2 of their last 3 games this season. They are also 10-2 under in road games after a game in which they did not cover the spread. And they're 8-0 in road games after successfully covering the spread in 2 or more consecutive games this season. So I think those trends continue and add another notch to the win column for those respective angles. Yeah. So that's our breakdown of 3 games, Ronald. I believe our best bets here, I'm not speaking for you, but I think in summary, we're going under in the Indiana game against the Pelicans. We're playing under in the Cavaliers Knicks, and we're playing the side with the Chicago Bulls in their matchup at OKC. Is that correct?
That sounds good. That does sound good to me. I do have a strong lean on the Pelicans as well on the sides. But yeah, let's stick with the three that you mentioned.
All right, that sounds good to me. We're going to look to improve on our record, which is hitting 69% winners on a 44-20 with 1 push record that's spanning 21 shows, guys and gals. It's been a remarkable run for us, and we're going to look to continue to just keep doing it one day at a time, 1 show at a time, 1 pick at a time, 1 win at a time. So that'll do it for the Monday edition of the Triple Double Show. I thank you, Ronald, for your time, and thanks to everyone for taking the time to view this video show. Take a moment, just take an extra moment, hit the subscribe button. Our subscriber growth is really going up fast, and it's for good reason. I do humbly state that we provide some awesome content, and the word's getting out. So take a moment, subscribe, nail the bell. You'll get notified of every single show we do in every single sport. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, the next edition of the NBA Triple Double. And until then, remember, always bet with your head and not over it. And may all the wins be yours.